This Pitch Breakfast video is brought to you by Spangler and Agins, attorneys for Charlotte's startup community.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope everyone's having a good morning. My name is John, and I'm the founder of RentHub. RentHub is a next-generation data analytics platform for the $6.6 trillion rental housing industry. So guys, about a decade ago, something calamitous happened, and it was the Great Recession. And home sales and all that market went haywire, but emerging out of that market was the rental housing industry. We are now a nation of renters, and what this has meant is that the business side has grown like gangbusters. You have institutional capital, hedge funds, Wall Street, everybody getting into this industry. And there's been tons of innovation in the space as well. You have dynamic pricing, co-living, Airbnb, etc. But the way we track and analyze these markets has not changed at all. We're still using pens and paper, we're still doing physical visits, and frankly, we can't keep up with these markets. There are hundreds of hours being lost every year and billions of dollars being left on the table. So we created RentHub to bring this entire industry into the future. What RentHub is it's a data analytics platform, and as I said earlier, and our key insight is that 98% of all rental housing is listed somewhere on the internet. So we've created this giant infrastructure which helps us collect and analyze all of this data in real time to build the largest data asset on rental housing that's ever been created. Now, our first product helps the multifamily industry owners and operators track their competitors in real time. We have a couple top brands signed up for this program, and our revenue on a monthly basis is approaching $10,000 every month. We have another product that we're very excited to release while we're here at QC FinTech, and this product helps the long tail of business side investors, developers, lenders, and appraisers come and get an instant rental market report. This used to be my background, but now I'm in the tech industry helping to bring this industry forward. Thank you guys. My name is John, RentHub. Thank you.
So great energy. Those 2 minutes went by fast, didn't they?
Sure did.
Yeah, I think you did a pretty good job setting up how the market on a very high level has emerged. I think you probably could tighten that up a little bit. You used a good amount of time getting to that point. And I think we all know that the recession happened. Well, some people here are younger than I am, but and I think you can just focus in maybe on how much, just with a couple numbers probably, how much the rental market has expanded from say 2008 to 2018, right? And you can make that point probably pretty dramatically that way.
Cool.
And so it wasn't until pretty far into your pitch, it wasn't clear to me what you were selling or who you were selling it to. It did come out, I think, eventually, and it probably wasn't intentional. So yeah, it would have been good to try and fit in. It's always good to try and fit in why you're the person, right, who can execute against this. I know, and you got, cool. So you can tell me in a minute. And you didn't leave time for an ask, right? And so it's either, you're looking for a type of co-founder or employee, or you're looking for money, or you're looking for connections and a customer, whatever. You always want to have at least one ask. So I will ask you then, just give you the opportunity. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then tell me the thing that wasn't clear to me is the situation you were describing was with single family home rentals. And then when you talked about your initial customer, you specifically said multifamily units. So these are two different groups. So
yeah, one of the challenges
help me understand.
Sure, I mean, and one of the challenges with the rental housing industry is that it does span both multifamily on the top end and then single family, which is a long tail. So it expands like the entire gamut of that, and our products touch both sides. So it's definitely an art to try to figure out how to squeeze all that in 2 minutes, and so I got to continue working on that. My background is that I'm a lawyer trained and practiced for a couple of years, turned
Sorry
real.
about that.
Yeah, I know, right? Seriously.
You're recovering. You're recovering.
Glad you're out of that business.
But I spent the past decade as a real estate professional. So I was on the real estate private equity side. We were buying up apartments, and I was always the guy at the bottom of the totem pole, compiling all that market intelligence. So that's how I actually got intimately familiar. I've actually done some deals of my own as well as a real estate investor. So it's a very tricky problem trying to understand, whether the deal that you're getting makes sense in the market and whether you can make some money with it. And so I definitely have to weave that in probably earlier as part of my story. But there's also the market component as well that I think is important for people to understand why now. So stuff to work on. But yeah, my background, lawyer turned real estate investor turned real estate technology professional.
And do you have an ask?
I have an ask. Yeah, sure. Warm welcome to the community, one. And then two, there's tons of applications of this data. I'm looking to connect with folks who can help me continue to find wedges into, say, the fintech industry. So we've been talking with a lot of banking folks, a lot of lending operations as well. Whomever else might find this information valuable, definitely want to talk to you.
What he said. And in 2 minutes is so short. I mean, all you got time to do is to sort of convince us that you're a person to do this, that you've got a product and a big idea that you're going to solve. And as John said, you spent sort of a long time talking about the big rental market.
1 minute.
And
I'm just messing around.
You'll get there. You'll get there. I'm sure of that, because you present well.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about that. But we've really got to walk away from here really understanding what you're doing. And he's smarter than I am, and he might have been able to figure it out. I couldn't figure out. And so I'd like you, in one sentence, who's going to buy your product to solve what problem?
Real-time market intelligence platform for different business people to rental housing. So we have a product for people who run apartment complexes. We have a product for people who are buying or lending to or developing apartment or rental housing as well.
But what's
And
the problem?
what's the problem you're solving for them? What are they doing?
Sure. We're helping them automatically compile rental housing information, such as rental rates. All of these data points are definitely out there, but there is very disparate.
Why do they need that?
I'm sorry?
Why do they need that?
Because that's how they make their decisions whether to, operate or whether to raise their rates or whether to buy a property or whatever the case may be.
So you're providing data that enables an
To
apartment.
do their jobs, essentially.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm not in that business.
Okay.
John's not in that business. So you've
Not
got to so you've got to really crystallize it. We're providing data for apartment owners so they can set the rate and optimize their profits.
That's just one piece of it.
Okay, so you only got 2 minutes. You can't tell me everything. And all you're trying to do is get me excited so that I
Right.
come up afterwards and say, oh man, tell me about this.
Right.
And so you've got to find, that crystal clear way to articulate it. And I see you shaking your head. And I will tell you that
Not at you.
Yep.
Not at you. I'm shaking my head because it's definitely tricky so I'm just
and great founders figure out a way to articulate it in 2
understood,
minutes.
my friend. Understood. Okay, great.
Yeah, no, I trust me, I feel your pain. I mean, we're still raising our fund, so we have to go out and pitch all the time. And as Chris Halligan, who many of you know, took Lister and me out behind the shed a few years ago when we were raising fund too. He's like, your guys' biggest problem is you know too much about what you do. And anyone who knows, you're at a disadvantage because you unintentionally make it more complex. Mm-hmm. Because you understand you were in this business on the other side for 10 years.
Right.
So the same thing that makes you potentially that great person to run and build this business makes it really hard for you to boil it down for 2 minutes because, as John was noticing, right, you're saying in your head, this is more complex than that. Right? This isn't just for one little thing, and that's why I like this, but you have to tease out, okay, if I can only leave them with one thing, knowing that it's really more than that, what's the one thing that I think is most likely to really grab their attention? And then when I have this follow-up conversation, hopefully I can explain to them, well, it's also this, and this. So I know we don't have an infinite, so I'm curious, so I did not think that the real estate world and the rental side of it was devoid of data sources. So that's kind of a surprise to me. What's the trick, if there is one, or what's your edge that you're doing that's enabling you to collect and aggregate and now present in a digestible fashion this?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that feeds a lot into like the whole recession vignette. And so again, I'll work on making that tighter. But one of the biggest things is that the industry has changed, and the data sources that are out there right now have not changed with the industry, as I was saying, which means that a lot of the data that's out there right now is very stale. So they're not able to give a lot of real-time stuff. And in additionally, once this data is out there and say the web, you can actually get a lot more comprehensive data. You can also stitch in other types of data as well and really give a more 360-degree picture of the market. So there's a lot of angles which the current data sources just leave people wanting. And that's why a lot of folks end up doing a lot of this data collection by themselves, by hand and manually, and lose all the time and money left on the table, as I mentioned. So it's really just trying to find that solution to innovate with the industry alongside it. And our key thing is like, hey, we're able to compile a lot of these data points from the web, and that's been our angle. And you can give stuff real time, comprehensively, et cetera.
So is really your value proposition to folks not that that you're saving them time in getting them data that they're right now spending a lot of time trying to aggregate?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
That's right.
So that's your secret sauce is you save me hours and hours or days and days of trying to collect data, and you give it to me all in one place so that I can make the proper decisions.
Absolutely, exactly.
Thank you.
Any other questions?